The Simpsons has been predicting the future. And the more you look into this, the more confusing it actually gets. Knowing that The Simpsons has been on for 35 years, things change over time.
But it seems as though, once again, The Simpsons predicted Kamala Harris becoming vice president.
Hold your breath, because Simpsons predictions are again coming true.
In this episode, Bart gets a glimpse into the future. This is not a recent episode. Lisa has become the first female president.
Especially regarding skyrocketing tensions between the US and China after Donald Trump's shocking return to the White House in 2024. Could Springfield's playful satire really be warning us of an actual showdown between superpowers? You'll be stunned by how closely this animated prophecy mirrors our evolving reality. Buckle up. This is where fiction meets the real world. The Nobel Prize shock. Another Simpsons forecast that left fans wide-eyed involves the ever-prestigious Nobel Prize. The show has toyed with the idea of Springfield residents guessing future Nobel laureates, most notably in the 2010 episode Elementary School Musical. In this episode, Lisa and the kids place bets on potential Nobel Prize winners, with Milhouse famously rooting for Bengt Holmstrom in economics, years before Holmstrom would indeed win the prize in 2016. That moment sent the internet into a frenzy, pegging The Simpsons as a weirdly accurate oracle yet again. What makes this example so compelling is how oddly specific it turned out to be. Predicting technological advancements or broad cultural shifts might be easier to chalk up to coincidence, but naming an actual Nobel Prize winner long before the recognition occurs crosses into truly bizarre territory. Fans dug into the episode, highlighting how Milhouse's bet mirrored real events, turning it into one of those Simpsons did it moments that command attention. By 2025, the notion of The Simpsons calling it, when it comes to high-level academic awards, has become part of the show's lore. Some people argue that Holmstrom was already a respected economist, so it wasn't an out-of-left-field guess. Perhaps the writers or a consultant on the show had academic ties and inserted the name as an in-joke. Even so, the average viewer had no reason to know who Holmstrom was, making it all the more startling when the prediction aligned with actual history. It might be tempting to dismiss this as a fluke, but for a show that's yielded so many surprising real-world connections, it's another testament to The Simpsons' blend of satire, curiosity, and comedic flair. Perhaps it's a reminder that the writer's room is filled with bright minds who keep tabs on emerging thinkers, scientists, and cultural figures, weaving them into Springfield's animated tapestry. Years later, when life imitates cartoon, the result is pure pop culture magic. Whether by coincidence or subtle brilliance, Elementary School Musical gave us the iconic moment of Milhouse calling Holmstrom's shot and ended up strengthening The Simpsons' already legendary status as a crystal ball cartoon. The futuristic worldview. It's only fitting to start with Lisa's wedding, 1995, one of the show's earliest leaps into the future. This classic episode isn't just about Lisa getting engaged, it's a treasure chest of tomorrow's tech, many aspects of which align surprisingly well with what we actually have today. The storyline sees Lisa in college, where her fiancé Hugh showcases advanced gadgets, including a wristwatch that can make phone calls, eerily reminiscent of the modern smartwatch revolution. At the time, the idea of chatting through a watch seemed like pure science fiction. But fast forward to the real world, and it's a staple of daily life. In Lisa's wedding, we also catch glimpses of video calling screens that look suspiciously like FaceTime or Zoom. The whole family sees each other through these real-time devices, which felt fanciful in an era dominated by landlines and expensive, clunky video conferencing reserved for large corporations. Now, with smartphones, tablets, and laptops providing instant video calls across continents, it's almost mundane. What really stands out is the show's casual attitude toward all these futuristic features. Rather than framing them as extraordinary inventions, the episode treats them as everyday conveniences in Lisa's near-future world. That's arguably what makes the parallel so striking. Today, we hardly bat an eye at making a video call from our wrist. It's exactly the Simpsons brand of humor and satire, a comedic nudge that says, "Oh, you think this is crazy? Just wait." Lisa's Wedding didn't aim to prophesy the next technological era on purpose. It was simply indulging in comedic speculation about advanced gadgets. Still, revisiting the episode in 2025, it's hard to resist marveling at how many of its fun, offbeat projections are part of our current reality. Viewers might feel less like they're watching an old cartoon and more like they're seeing a mirror of modern life. It begs the question, if the writers were inadvertently right about smartwatch calls and casual video chats, what other bits of tomorrow's tech might be lying hidden in Lisa's Wedding? Still rocking, the Rolling Stones' Eternal Tour. Revisiting Lisa's Wedding, 1995. Yet again, there's a blink and you'll miss it piece of visual humor that fans love pointing out. A poster announcing a future Rolling Stones tour, with an offhand suggestion that the legendary band will keep performing well into the mid-21st century. At the time, people chuckled. Could the Rolling Stones really continue rocking the stage as the decades rolled on? Surely, their global fame would wane, or they'd retire gracefully, right? Fast forward to reality, and the Stones have indeed defied all expectations by touring longer than just about anyone imagined. Though some might argue they have slowed down here and there, they're still headlining massive stadium shows. As of 2025, the band's longevity is downright astonishing. Members well into their 70s or 80s continue to captivate audiences worldwide, and in this sense, Lisa's Wedding feels spookily on the mark. It wasn't just a joke about how old rock stars might carry on, but a comedic glimpse of a cultural phenomenon that shows no sign of stopping. Critics might say the Simpsons team was simply riffing on the Stones' enduring popularity. After all, the band had already been in the limelight for multiple decades by 1995. But that hardly diminishes the delight fans experience when they recall the episode and realize how much real life has matched that throwaway gag. The Rolling Stones' refusal to retire, touring album after album, becomes yet another comedic prediction that ended up reflecting our world more accurately than anyone could have anticipated. By 2025, the Rolling Stones are practically an institution, beloved by multiple generations. Maybe someone in the Simpsons writers' room recognized that certain cultural icons can transcend normal expectations of age and career length. Whatever the reason, it's hard not to smirk when you see that old poster in Lisa's Wedding, proclaiming a distant year tour, and realize these rockers actually kept on going. Amid the show's weirder predictions about technology and politics, this sly nod to unstoppable rock and roll might be one of the most charming and strangely correct forecasts that Springfield ever produced. The future pandemic. In 1993's Marge in Chains, the plot revolves around Marge's legal troubles, but hidden in the background is an unsettling subplot, a virus called the Osaka flu, making its way to Springfield. Townspeople panic, cough, and scramble to nurse themselves back to health. As if that weren't chilling enough in retrospect, the episode also features a swarm of killer bees unleashed from a crate, absurdly piling one crisis on top of another. Back then, it was merely played for laughs, exaggerated comedic chaos. But once the COVID-19 pandemic and the concurrent murder hornet headlines hit in 2020, fans rushed to draw parallels. Indeed, The alignment is eerie, a mystery virus arriving from abroad, followed by a stinging insect invasion, while the real-world events and the cartoonish storyline differ dramatically in severity and scope. The uncanny resemblance was enough to bolster The Simpsons' reputation for wild, accidental predictions. Looking ahead to 2025, global health remains an intense focal point, with NASA warning about disruptions linked to climate shifts that might foster new disease vectors. Pandemic preparedness stands at the forefront of world politics, and many see Marge in Chains as a comedic lens that ironically foreshadowed a future where viruses and invasive species can collide. Of course, the show didn't aim to predict a global health crisis. It simply wove a chaotic scenario that played well for laughs. Still, the fact that one comedic storyline can echo real headlines decades later speaks volumes about how The Simpsons sometimes stumbles upon possible realities. Perhaps writers, always sponging up current events and imagining the worst possible comedic outcomes, got close to the bone. Or maybe the show's vast library of episodes inherently includes scenarios that later appear in real life by sheer chance. Whichever it is, Marge in Chains occupies a unique spot in fans' hearts. What was once a zany subplot is now viewed as an eerily on-target reflection of a world contending with pandemics, hornets, and other sudden shocks to public health. The Super Bowl reality. The 2012 episode Lisa Goes Gaga features Lady Gaga herself visiting Springfield, decked out in flamboyant outfits, extreme pyrotechnics, and a show-stopping flight over the audience via cables. It's the kind of outlandish spectacle The Simpsons is famous for parodying, pushing a celebrity's persona to the comedic threshold. 5 years later, at the 2017 Super Bowl 51 halftime show, Lady Gaga's real-life performance bore an uncanny resemblance to her animated cameo. She descended from the roof of Houston's NRG Stadium in a metallic costume, belting out her hits while hovering over the stage. Naturally, fans went crazy, identifying the parallels: the wire apparatus, the glitzy outfit, even the dramatic reveal. Did Lady Gaga take inspiration from her Simpsons cameo, or was it a cosmic coincidence that the pop superstar, known for boundary-pushing theatrics, simply aligned her creative expression with the show's comedic exaggerations? Either way, the resemblances piled up enough to earn it the label "Another Simpsons Prediction Comes True." In the years after that Super Bowl show, technology and stagecraft have only grown more sophisticated, making over-the-top concerts a norm rather than an exception. Drones, animatronics, backdrops that morph with augmented reality, none of it seems out of place in 2025. But when the Lisa Goes Gaga episode aired, strapping Lady Gaga to a stage harness and having her glide above the crowd felt like comedic fantasy more than an example of actual future showbiz. For some fans, Lisa Goes Gaga symbolizes how The Simpsons thrives on turning cultural icons into outrageous comedic displays, only to have reality catch up or even surpass the performance. The real comedic punch lies in how the actual event, seen by millions of viewers worldwide, so closely matched the whimsical cartoon depiction. It left no doubt that Springfield's knack for inspired exaggeration can sometimes border on the genuinely prophetic. And if Lady Gaga's creative team did indeed draw from the cartoon, that makes the moment all the more delightful, blurring the lines between satire and real-world spectacle in a way only The Simpsons can coordinate. Donald Trump's second presidency. One of the most notorious moments in Simpsons lore springs from the year 2000 episode Bart to the Future. In it, viewers get a peek at a grown-up Lisa in the White House, stating that her presidency has come on the heels of President Trump, who left behind a significant financial mess. At the time, Donald Trump was a famous businessman and TV personality, but the notion of him becoming president seemed absurd. Fast forward to 2016, and fans around the internet were astounded when Trump was elected the 45th President of the United States. But it didn't stop there. After his first term, speculation heated up about a possible second Trump presidency. According to our scenario, he secured victory again in 2024, bringing the Simpsons Predictions squarely into the spotlight once more. The parallels are uncanny, and supporters of the show's time-traveling writer's room theory often cite Bart to the Future as possibly the biggest bullseye in the entire Simpsons Predictions saga. Of course, the truth is probably less mystical. Trump had flirted with running for office multiple times in the past, so the writers might have simply latched onto that possibility for comedic effect. Still, cynics and fans alike find it fascinating that what began as a tongue-in-cheek line about a comedic future ended up paralleling real political developments. The significance of this prediction has transcended the show itself, shaping how people talk about pop culture's ability to foresee global events. Whether one views it as a casual jab that gained unexpected relevance or evidence of clairvoyance, Bart to the Future remains etched in fans' minds. Holding it up as an example of some comedic prophecy might be a stretch, but it undeniably showcases how The Simpsons can cross from mere satire into real-world territory. With Donald Trump's second presidency now a reality in this hypothetical scenario, longtime fans of Springfield can't help but say they did it again, while critics raise an eyebrow at how a show about a cartoon family became the oracular soothsayer of modern politics. Rising tensions with China. At first glance, the 2005 episode Goo Goo Gai Pan is a whimsical adventure set in China, with the Simpsons traveling overseas for Selma's adoption story. While the episode indulges in comedic stereotypes and cultural confusions, some fans argue it inadvertently touches on growing concerns about US-China relations. In 2005, the notion that tensions might escalate felt speculative, but as of 2025, observers note an undeniable strain between the superpowers over trade disagreements, technology competition, and diplomatic disputes. How does Goo Goo Gai Pan factor into this? It's certainly no explicit prophecy about future conflicts, yet the episode highlights satirical jabs at bureaucracy, censorship, and cultural barriers, topics that have only intensified in global dialogues. For instance, the storyline includes comedic run-ins with Chinese officials and subtle references to how the state controls information. These comedic elements, once seen merely as light-hearted barbs, now resonate with modern issues like digital censorship, intellectual property battles, and the high-stakes economic rivalry that define current US-China relations. Of course, interpreting this as a legitimate prediction can be contentious. Goo Goo Gai Pan was designed for laughs, not serious political commentary. Nonetheless, it's intriguing how certain comedic pokes, like restrictions on free speech or controlling narratives, have come to the forefront of real-world concerns. As the 2025 global order grapples with trade disputes, cybersecurity hacks, and constant political brinkmanship, the comedic exaggerations in that Simpsons episode seem a tad too close to home. In the grand scope of Simpsons Predictions, Goo Goo Gai Pan may not exude the flashy clairvoyance of Bart to the Future or Lisa's Wedding, but by shining a satirical light on cross-cultural tensions and bureaucratic peculiarities, it arguably foreshadowed ongoing challenges in US-China relations. Springfield's comedic trip to Beijing symbolizes one of those subtle ways The Simpsons can reflect global truths. They poke fun at issues that in time might escalate into real concerns far beyond a half-hour cartoon. Whether intentionally predictive or just biting satire, it stands out as yet another instance where Springfield's lens on the world captured a future reality nobody saw coming. the rise of virtual yard work. In the 1998 episode Bart Carney, most of the focus is on the carnival fiasco that Bart and Homer create when they take over a carnival job. However, there's one fleeting joke that has become increasingly relevant. Bart's fascination with a new VR game called Yard Work Simulator. Marge, in exasperation, scolds him, saying he could be doing the real thing in their own backyard instead of escaping into a virtual version. At the time, virtual reality was niche, an amusing novelty with clunky headsets found mostly in arcades. Fast forward to 2025, and the VR market has boomed. Brands like Meta, HTC, and Sony release headsets that bring immersive experiences to living rooms worldwide. And sure enough, simulation games where players do everyday tasks like cooking, farming, or even yard work have exploded in popularity. It's a paradox that intrigues developers and gamers. Why do we enjoy simulating life's mundane elements in VR? Yet that's precisely the essence of Bart Carney's comedic jab, escaping real chores in favor of doing them virtually. As ridiculous as it sounded, the show's comedic depiction lines up with a real trend in gaming culture. Over the last decade, we've seen countless simulator titles such as Farming Simulator, Job Simulator, and House Flipper gain cult followings. With VR tech making these experiences more realistic, players find relaxation or novelty in repeating tasks that might otherwise seem banal. Critics attribute the success of such simulators to their meditative nature. Raking leaves in VR or tidying a digital home can be oddly soothing, free from real-world fatigue, and with immediate gratification. You don't sweat, you don't breathe in dust, and you can reset mistakes with a button. For those who want a break from a hectic real-life schedule, a virtual environment might ironically offer peace. This progression of technology, turning comedic VR daydreams into actual products, mirrors how the Simpsons writing staff has an unusual talent for pinpointing future cultural quirks. Bart Carney might have been a throwaway joke about paradoxical escapism, yet in 2025, it reflects a booming digital pastime that proves once again, Springfield's imaginative gags often land uncomfortably close to real life in the not-so-distant future. Disney buys Fox. One of the sneakiest yet most impactful Simpsons predictions was tucked away in the background of a 1998 episode. A quick sight gag labeled 20th Century Fox, a division of Walt Disney Company. For fans at the time, it was an amusing stretch of comedic imagination. Disney, known for wholesome family content, acquiring the edgier 20th Century Fox? Absurd. Yet in 2019, it indeed happened. Disney purchased 21st Century Fox in a multi-billion-dollar deal that folded an entire suite of franchises, X-Men, Avatar, and even The Simpsons itself, under the Disney banner. By 2025, the merged content fortress is even more consolidated, shaping how we consume entertainment through streaming services and theme park expansions. At the time of that quick Simpsons gag, no one predicted that Bart Simpson would become an official Disney character, sharing the corporate stable with Mickey Mouse. The comedic brilliance here is how innocuous the reference was, another blink-and-you-miss-it background joke. Yet, it has since been seized upon as further proof that The Simpsons can see the future. Critics say it's all about comedic hyperbole. The show's writers recognized a pattern of Disney's aggressive expansions, even in the late 90s, and ran with it for a chuckle. Still, it's uncanny how precisely reality echoed this joke, right down to the synergy of beloved cultural icons under one mega-corporation. For many fans, it remains one of the most shocking predictions, outdoing most others in scale and complexity. Predicting technological inventions like video calling is one thing, Foreseeing a massive entertainment acquisition that reshaped the media landscape is another level entirely. For better or worse, Disney's acquisition of Fox altered the creative direction of many franchises, ushering in crossovers fans only dreamed about and fueling concerns about media monopolies. When you look back at that single gag in The Simpsons, it's impossible not to marvel at how comedic guesswork or satirical commentary on corporate America became a blueprint for actual corporate history. So the next time you see that old screenshot of the Fox sign labeled a division of Walt Disney Co., remember, Springfield had the scoop before all of us. FaceTime before FaceTime. We return to Lisa's wedding one last time because this single episode truly brims with uncanny glimpses of our present. Not only did it hint at smartwatch technology, but it also envisioned something very similar to FaceTime. In that mid-90s portrayal, Lisa dials up Marge using a futuristic phone that provides a real-time, face-to-face call across distances. Sound familiar? By 2025, video calling isn't just common, it's virtually inescapable. From remote work to telemedicine, from chatting with friends across the globe to taking online classes, everyday life now revolves around platforms like Zoom, Google Meet, and Apple's FaceTime. Yet, in 1995, the thought of casual, everyday video calling belonged almost exclusively to science fiction. Ironically, Lisa's wedding didn't treat these calls as advanced wonders. It showed them as normal as sprinkling sugar into coffee. That understated portrayal amplifies the sense of foreknowledge. It's not that they said, "Wow, look at this super high-tech device." They simply used it without fanfare, just as we do now. Some fans chalk these coincidences up to The Simpsons writers staying deeply in tune with emerging tech trends, even if in comedic form. Others prefer the more romantic notion that the show houses a wellspring of prescient creativity. Regardless, the cultural significance is clear. A cartoon gag from decades ago now matches our routine daily habits as we wave hello to parents, co-workers, or distant friends via digital screens. This final example exemplifies why The Simpsons Predictions is insane continues to pique our interest. Sure, it's probably just brilliant satire combined with an acute cultural pulse, but seeing Lisa seamlessly communicate with her mother via video call in 1995 underscores the show's remarkable capacity to guess where society might be heading, often in the subtlest ways. It's yet another reason fans keep rummaging through old episodes, pausing at hints in the background and wondering which Simpsons joke might become our reality next.